Joining me now, Mimi Rocah. She is a former assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. She's a professor at Pace University Law School, and she's a candidate for district attorney in neighboring Westchester County. Mimi, good to see you again. It's been a while. Let's just remind our viewers of the relevance of the Southern District of New York in general, and specifically as it has to do with Donald Trump.
Hi, Alec. Great to see you. So the Southern District of New York, as you said, has historically been the most independent U.S. Attorney's Office in the country. And in fact, we know through reporting over the past several years, but particularly right before kind of the COVID crisis hit, there was a lot of information coming out about investigations of Trump, the Trump Organization. Michael Cohen, as you mentioned earlier, was actually prosecuted in the Southern District of New York and pled guilty there. And I think most recently the reporting was focusing on Rudy Giuliani and possibility of campaign finance and possibly fraud schemes with some other individuals. So it looked to me, it sounded to me just from public reporting like the Southern District was circling the wagons, as they say, on Rudy Giuliani. And so the timing of this does, of course, obviously raise the distinct possibility that the Southern District was getting ready to act on something. And that's why this came in the middle of the night, seemingly out of the blue.
So here's a question for you that you and I have discussed in the past. Is clearly the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York in some fashion works for the executive branch and serves at the pleasure of the president. And that would make this possibly unseemly. But if this speculation turns out to be true, that they were circling the wagons around something that had to do with Donald Trump or Rudy Giuliani or one of the Trump businesses of the Trump family or something like that, does it cross a line from unseemly into improper and possibly illegal?
Absolutely. And let's talk about the circumstances of what happened here, right? Because this is what Barr is going to do, try to do his, executive power. The president, people serve at the will of the president. First of all, Barr did this and lied. I mean, we can't just skip over that. Last night, Bill Barr, the Attorney General of the United States, lied in writing and said that U.S. Attorney Berman had resigned. Thank goodness that Jeff Berman has the integrity and the courage, which is, short supply in this administration, to stand up very quickly and say in writing, I did not resign and I'm not going anywhere. So why, first of all, why is Bill Barr trying to get rid of him? And why was Bill Barr lying about it? He knew he couldn't get away with just firing him. And I don't know if he thought that Berman would just be quiet about it, but thankfully, and I think this has to go stated because it's unusual for people to stand up and speak the truth in this administration, and Jeff Berman did. And the other thing that's really notable to me about this whole situation is not only that it, again, was done abruptly in the middle of the night with Bill Barr lying about it, but why are they in such a hurry to get rid of Berman? Because even if there was some legitimate argument, that he could be replaced, why are you not waiting until a Senate-confirmed U.S. attorney can come in? Why are you putting in an acting U.S. attorney from another district, from New Jersey? That's what they did. They said temporarily, until someone else can be confirmed, we are putting in the New Jersey U.S. attorney as an acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. That is unprecedented. Normally what would happen is the deputy U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York would become the acting. That's what happened when Preet Bharara was fired. That's what happened every time that any other U.S. attorney has stepped down voluntarily. So this tells me that there's some time pressure here. They needed to get Berman and his staff out quickly, and that is deeply concerning.
So this is the kind of conversation, Mimi, that you and I would be having about an authoritarian regime, right, where they replace people with loyalists. Here's the question. Rachel tweeted last night, who's got control over the files and the office right now? And Tom Winter, who's going to be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour, our reporter, says that he knows that Jeff Berman walks around with a bag. He describes it as the size of a small car. This guy carries his stuff around with him. This becomes a real issue. Who's got the files? Who controls the documents? Who controls the office right now?
Well, I mean, fortunately, in this day and age, everything's basically on the computer. I mean, there are not a lot of paper files, though I saw Rachel's tweet and I appreciated the thought and the question. And she's right in a different sense, which is, are they going to attempt at some point to lock Berman out of the Department of Justice computer system? I mean, it's not like anyone can just get into that. That would be the equivalent of stealing files. They can't lock out all of the prosecutors in the office, though. And I think, Jeff Berman is very popular in that office because he has tried so hard to maintain the independence of this office, of the Southern District of New York, throughout the Trump administration. So I think if something like that is attempted, there will be plenty of people in that office who will make sure that the information somehow gets out. But that is what the equivalent would be. It would be locking him out of the computer system.